You sit in church week after week, embracing the truth of God's Word. You believe the gospel and claim Jesus Christ as your Lord. Yet you continue to struggle with pornography. You feel like a hypocrite, returning to the sin you hate that mocks the God you love. You desperately wonder, is lasting freedom even possible? Yes, you can overcome pornography, but not alone. 2 Timothy 2:22 says, "Now flee from youthful lusts, and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. Only by repeatedly running from sin to Christ with other believers can you hope to enjoy lasting freedom." You can live with purity and integrity. Take courage, seek accountability, and do whatever is necessary. Get equipped at accountable2you.com.
Hey y'all, welcome to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network.
You're wrong.
What?
You're wrong. That's all I'm. I want to establish
this is going to be a very
now.
disagreeable show.
You're wrong.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
But the good news is my wife's home. That's the good
We are
news.
all happier because of it.
Yes.
My wife was gone for accidentally 10 days. It was supposed to be 7 days.
Accidentally 10
helping
days.
her sister.
That sounds like a personal problem to me.
Yeah, oh man, it was a very yeah. I mean, you know, it's I think I can't remember if I told you guys this or not, but like in The Office with Dwight Schrute, did I tell you this story? Okay,
No.
the episode where Dwight Schrute left Dunder Mifflin to go work for another company.
Okay.
And like a week later in the office, all the plants and trees start dying. And everyone's like, who was watering these plants? Apparently, Dwight was the only one taking care of the plants at night.
Oh. Okay.
And everything.
Nobody knew.
And that was when my wife left, like all these things stopped getting done.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
Hey.
who was taking care of all this house?
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
have you seen that ad where this is like going to be the show we're going to do? Have you seen there's like some kind of like, I don't know if it's a real commercial or not, but like where this guy's like, you know, he says, he tells his wife, he says, come in here, I got to show you something. There's the little coffee table. He says, every evening I leave this thing piled high with like trash and mugs and stuff. He says, every morning I come in here
and it's gone.
Yeah.
And then he takes her over to the laundry basket and does the same thing.
And you see her like,
are you serious?
Like, are you serious? Yeah.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
Okay, since we're telling these, so,
your turn.
You got one? You got one?
Can I go?
Yeah.
So you guys know who Jason Elmore is?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of his book right now, and I did the
Elite Execution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, I couldn't. Sorry, Jason. He was teaching a class. I think it was a couple years ago. And one of the things he said, he had a whole big screen of all the things like, you know, laundry, executive, cook, special chef, hospital aide, nurse. And he just has this list, huge pile of lists of all the things his wife did.
Yeah.
And then he had a tag of how much it actually costs right next to him. And he's like, and I could never afford the value that doesn't come with what's on the price tag. And I was like, that's
priceless.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
So good.
Jesus is Lord in public and in private. Every area of life must be subject to his lordship, and our use of technology is no exception. What captures our attention on the screen either glorifies or dishonors our Lord. That's why accountable to you, that's the word accountable, the number 2, the word you, is committed to promoting biblical accountability in our families and churches. Their monitoring and reporting software makes transparency easy on all of your devices, so you can say with the psalmist, I will not set anything worthless before my eyes. So guard against temptation with accountable to you. Again, that's the word accountable, the number 2, the word you, and live for God's glory. Learn more and try it for free today at accountable2you.com/FLF.
That's just great ads. We need more ads like that. Imagine if Fox was running ads like that, or Super Bowl Sunday. It'd be great.
I've got one more ad. I told a friend I would read for him on here. Every House is the name of this. I don't know what this is. Ministry service. Does your church offer weekly worship guides for families? Many churches do. Do Bible reading plans and discipleship rhythms fall off after the first few months of a new year? Ooh, this is kind of like that like hot spot in the middle of January.
You're on fire.
Every House was created to help churches tie all their discipleship rhythms together in a customizable family worship guide delivered every week to your inbox. Every house ought to be, as it were, a little church consecrated to Christ and wholly influenced and governed by his rules, inspired by the commands of Scripture and these words from Jonathan Edwards, aimed at seeing every house worship the triune God. To find out more, email Nathan Hutzel at everyhousediscipleship@gmail.com, everyhousediscipleship@gmail.com. You can also check them out at Every House Discipleship on Instagram. They create these worship guides, and they can be customizable and sent every week to your inbox.
You know what? I don't think this is such a great chiasm already developing. A lot of y'all just heard that and was like, cool. And you should have stopped. You need to pause the podcast right now, take it back, rewind, and write down Every House Discipleship. Everyhousediscipleship.com. You need to go there right now. Because everything we're about to talk about is going to head all the way back to that point there.
Every House Discipleship at Gmail. It's an email, or check them out on Instagram. Every House Discipleship on Instagram.
And don't forget Biblical Sexuality Sunday with our Canadian brothers and sisters up there.
Yes.
January 14th. January 14th is when...
This Sunday.
Is it this coming Sunday?
This coming Sunday.
A lot of American pastors participate in this too, and you're doing it at our church, aren't you?
I'm doing a message at King's Cross
Biblical Sexuality Sunday.
Yeah. And we're doing that.
Participate with our brothers up there who can get like literally fined in jail time for what they're about to do.
Yeah, right.
On Sunday.
Are we talking about how wrong Gabe is now?
Yeah,
so
let's talk
wrong.
All right. January 15th.
Wait, this is not how the show started out. Go ahead. I'll let you start. Go ahead.
I'm just, there's the Iowa caucus that starts January 15th.
I was just gonna say we want to talk about budgets and stuff, but
we can talk
no, go ahead.
Okay.
You got.
We're just getting right into it.
Okay, let me just. I want to say one thing about the budget.
Okay,
and then you can bring up Iowa caucuses. All right,
because Speaker Mike Johnson worked out some deal today or whatever.
And the Freedom Caucus is mad at him. There's like some 40 members of the Freedom Caucus.
They should be.
But here's the reason I'm mad. The reason I'm mad is that Mike Johnson had a chance for the government to shut down.
Yeah,
and he's getting in front of microphones and cameras and acting like it's a good thing that the government's not shutting down.
Maybe he'll do it on the next round.
I need. This is the question that Matt Gaetz. Matt, I'm talking to you right now. Okay, when you do the thing, if you do the thing again, and you say, all right, out with you, we're getting another one. Yeah. The question I want answered is, will you shut the government down?
Yes.
That's the answer. That's the question that needs to be answered, because if you are, that's basically what Matt Gaetz did with the House.
Right.
He's like, we're holding this position hostage.
Yeah.
Until we get somebody that we're going to deal with. It's going to be good. It's going to actually, but I don't know.
So Gaetz should have been the speaker. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, but
it's also going to show maybe Gaetz wasn't that principled. Maybe he just didn't like the other speaker.
Well, I didn't like him, but I
know Gaetz is the one who's not happy right now. He's with the Freedom Caucus.
I assume. I think he's the one name I haven't seen mentioned yet as having.
He's probably scratching his head like, what am I supposed to do?
I know, but anyways, I'm just upset. Like, you had a chance to shut down the government. Every chance we have to shut down the government, we should take it.
Yeah.
Like the government,
prove to people that the government's not doing what you think it's doing.
Right. Like every day the government is not doing something, it's not doing something bad.
You're more free at this point.
When you go $1.7 trillion over your budget.
I don't even know what that is.
You should be shut down.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Don't worry. There's still a possible shutdown on January 19th, and then I think February 2nd.
So you're saying
we got a couple
still
more
a chance.
Yeah.
A couple more chances.
That's what I was going to say.
Come on.
And that line of budgeting will be probably larger, right? It's going to be a larger amount that he has, so he can have more to. So he's just.
I don't know.
He could be being strategic. Here's the thing, though. He did get another $10 billion out of. The Democrats, which gave the IRS. So the IRS is going to lose $10 billion. So what did you say? They had 80 originally.
I think totally like 80 or 90 was slated to go to the IRS.
We've at least carved off $20 billion from the IRS. Now, the reason that they have to have that much money is because the government needs to make that $1.7 trillion up.
Yep.
And it's in your pockets.
Right. They're going to come.
They need to go from
us.
They got their sales reps.
All right. So you were saying about
so we got all the caucuses are starting here. Okay.
When's Iowa
caucus? Iowa's caucus January 15th.
And that's the first one.
That's the first one. New Hampshire's is January 23rd. Yeah. South Carolina's is for Republicans different than Democrats, is February 24th.
Okay.
And then you got Nevada's February 8th, and then you got Idaho. Idaho's number 5.
All right.
In all this. And then there's like this weird, Michigan has like 2 primaries. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. But Michigan's it looks like real primaries March 2nd also with Idaho.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why do we care about the caucuses?
Well,
It
the
feels
primaries?
like, I'm just wondering, like, because it feels like combine, sport combine. That's what it feels like.
Like what?
You know, go to the combines.
Yeah. And check out
sports
the players.
Check out the players. They go run. Who's running faster? Oh, this guy runs a 4.4 in this amount of time. And
It's called combine?
yeah.
Combine. Yeah. That's where also Kaepernick said it was the slave trade, basically. all
Yeah,
over again.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a
When
lot
an
of money.
NFL player gets
Boy.
inspected, his body gets
What?
inspected about his physicality so
Okay.
he can make $5 million.
Right.
And Kaepernick's like, that's slavery.
Yeah.
That's
5
chattel.
million.
That's chattel
5
slavery.
million?
Yeah.
Please.
Or 40 million
What
if
an
you're a
insult-
quarterback.
What an insult to a slave. He's like, wait
or
a second.
700 if you're a baseball player.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Anyway, it just seems like, okay.
Well, I
whatever.
just think
we
you
know who running. We know who gonna win. Why we doing this?
Wait, who's running?
Trump.
Okay. And
He gonna win.
he's going to win?
Of course.
So, but I think part of the question is,
Oh, you mean the primary?
The primaries. Yeah.
I thought you were-
Is-
Ain't nobody close. They're 30 points behind them.
is if the church can be like-minded, could we sway this election?
No.
First of all, we aren't.
Wait.
We're not
Explain
like-minded.
We aren't like-minded about this.
that. If the church could be like-minded.
We could sway the election because remember, evangelicals right now in the U.S. are 40 million to 70 million, and of course that
You mean the church evangelicals as a whole?
as a whole in
Okay.
the U.S.
Bible-believing
It's
Christians.
probably more like 40 to 45, but then you probably need to define how many often are they going to church, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the evangelicals could be a voting bloc that could sway the whole thing. You need, you remember,
And they shouldn't
Biden
vote.
got elected with 81 million votes.
Right.
But a primary.
You said that like you think that that's
What do
not
you-
true.
What do you mean by sway? Like sway in what way?
Impact, change the results.
It doesn't matter which way it sways.
So you're saying if there's 40 million evangelical
Evangelicals.
Christians and it takes 80 million to
Well,
win an
not
election.
even that. We're at the primary level. The primary level is even less votes you need to win.
Right.
The primary you need what? I don't know what happened last time, but you
interesting.
got 4 or 5 candidates running. So let's say one gets 5 million votes, one gets 10 million, one gets whatever.
Yeah.
You maybe need 20 million votes to win the primary. Or, it comes into actually getting delegates. Ultimately, is what you're getting.
Ooh.
But those votes
Question.
sway the delegate. Dictate the delegates depending on the state. Go ahead.
Who would they get behind?
Um,
Okay. Take your time. I got that.
Before we get there, my point is that if the church had a voice right now,
Right.
we could change the way our nation's thinking about a presidential candidate right now.
Is the way
Get behind.
is the way it works, the primaries work is so you're selecting delegates who are then are going to go to the national convention.
Yes,
And it's those delegates are ultimately going to vote for
and you've told them who to vote for.
the Republican candidate.
Yeah.
Right. And so whether it's a caucus or a primary, it basically works the same way in terms of ultimately what you're selecting are people who promise to vote for
Yes.
this particular
Yeah.
candidate. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. That's just helpful. Now, who should they vote for?
Well, I haven't heard a good argument, a good biblical argument for Trump, and I haven't heard a good biblical argument for DeSantis. Now, right now, Trump is looking like he's
Who
the
gave?
lead
Just
through all the
spit it
states.
out.
I don't know. I don't
Well, what
know.
do you want
I
him to
voted
do?
for Trump in 2020.
If you got them all together, you're like, I don't know what you. I don't know what
I'm just laying the facts out here as honestly as I can.
They
I
don't-
voted for Trump in 2020.
Did somebody in this room start something for DeSantis?
I did. Patriots for DeSantis.
Did you change your mind?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Goodness.
I'm being honest here.
How does DeSantis feel about your support?
Oh man, we talked, and he was like, Gabe.
That doesn't sound like him at all.
No, I can't. I'm a horrible impressionist.
I'm so confused. What do you want him to do?
Well, who to do?
That's the thing. Is I think everybody's like, okay, if we can get a guy and we get the guy there, and it's like, but who's the guy? We don't have the guy.
No, the point is we want a godly leader.
Yeah.
And so if the church is in a position to sway this election, how should the church be discipling his people and how to think through this election?
I think here's my answer to your question. I think the church is absolutely potentially in the place to sway this election, but they would have to do it in a very unique way, and nobody's going to like it. They would have to actually not vote. All of the evangelicals, all 40 million of them, not vote.
Yeah.
Not vote. And they need to come together. They make covenant with each other and say, this is how we're going to structure ourselves. Yeah. We're only going to vote for local candidates that believe thus. We're only going to vote for state representatives that believe thus. We're only going to vote for national candidates that believe thus. And if you guys want our vote, you want to come to us, and because if you like getting your butt kicked, then keep playing this crap.
Yeah.
Okay? You keep playing this crap with us and don't give us no real candidate.
Yeah.
All right? We're working on our families, working on our companies, we're working with our churches. Yeah. We're done. We're done.
So,
wait, I'm not done.
Okay. All right.
I'm not done.
Keep going.
And if you don't come to us, you don't have our vote. Period. Dot. The end. Okay. And so if they want to win, that's the stand we're going to have to take. Yeah. And if we don't take that stand, then okay.
Yeah.
But that means that there's a lot of fighting and engagement and culture building and disagreement back and forth with other brothers and Christians that we're going to have to be bold enough to have. We can't even have those conversations with each other. We can't have brothers and sisters willing to engage and fight with each other to come to some sort of unity. How do you come to unity apart from fighting with each other?
You don't.
That's why we have fight, laugh, and feast, because we're trying to build unity together.
Yeah.
You don't fight, you don't feast.
Fighting makes people feel bad.
Yes, because if you're wrong, you should feel bad and repent of it.
Nope, that's why you don't have any friends.
That's true. That's why I feel bad for y'all.
So, all right. So the church is not put together. It's not unified. It's not thinking clearly right now. So, but you got like Bob, Susan, Larry, Sally. They're going to the polls. What do they do?
Not vote for Biden.
Why not vote for Biden? And it'd be okay voting for Trump.
Because I think Biden has said basically, I'm going to try to kill more babies. I'm going to try to get your daughter's mastectomies. I'm going to try to,
But Trump wants a national abortion limit at 15 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of like, who do they vote for? Or is the idea if they don't vote, they're not voting?
Right. I guess I would put it to say, basically, my concern is that Christians not support people who are openly antagonistic to everything we stand for.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. How about that?
So that's why I would say
that's a very baseline.
That's my
the bar's low.
The bar is low.
Yeah.
Please do not act so that that's what I mean by not voting for Biden or whoever whoever the replacement for Biden is, if there's a replacement for Biden, Hillary, Kamala, Obama, whatever. Like, just don't vote for the people that hate everything we stand for.
Right.
But I think strong arguments can be made. I think your options are basically. So the Bible says, you brought this up when we were preparing for the show, but in Exodus 18, what Jethro tells Moses is that we are to select leaders who are able men, such as fear God, love the truth,
hate covetousness.
That's right. By that standard, I think you got to. I mean, if you're going to hold that like tight, like you basically can vote for Dusty Devers and write in Doug Wilson.
Yeah, right.
Like there's no no one else exists. Now, I think you've got to be because as soon as somebody has like made it somewhere, there's almost always a trail of skeletons,
right?
Of things that have happened where you think, jeepers, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And but if you're not, but I think that's a certain. You have this is at the beginning of a nation.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a particular historic context. I think these principles stand in important ways, but I also think that an argument can be made that when you vote, you're not always saying, God, I think this is a great candidate.
Right.
I think when you vote, sometimes what you're saying is, Lord, please give us more time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so please
to get our ducks in a row.
So
start another classical Christian school.
I think this candidate is going to give us more time.
Yeah.
You're not saying you think that guy's a great guy.
Yeah.
Read that, and Trump does not qualify.
Yeah, right.
He does not fear God. He does not love the truth. He does not hate covetousness.
Yeah.
Right?
What about DeSantis?
That's easy. I think DeSantis, I just have question marks about. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you can.
No, Gabe. No. Don't let him do that to you. Hey, you tell us about DeSantis.
Well, I think DeSantis is an idolater. He's Roman Catholic.
Okay.
You started the campaign.
So,
He started a campaign for an idolater.
well, but this goes back to like the big picture questions here.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to
This is
be
so good.
honestly assess the situation, because we got people that are going to go vote on January 15th.
Let me give 2 more historical contexts.
Okay.
So Exodus 18 is they're right fresh out of Egypt,
Yeah.
founding of a nation. This is like this is 1776.
Yeah.
Sort of instruction.
Yeah.
Okay. Or
That's good. Yeah.
or 1781. The war just got done.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about a constitutional convention.
Yeah.
That's where this instruction's given.
Yeah.
Okay. But what happens when you live? I've been reading through the Kings with my family, and it's like, the refrain you get of the kings in the north, who are always worse.
Always bad.
They're always bad. It says they did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they continued in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. And every time he says that, I ask the kids, so remember, what's Jeroboam's sins? And remember, Jeroboam, he was the first king of the northern kingdom, and out of fear of the northern kingdom returning to Jerusalem, set up golden calves in Dan and Bethel.
Message.
And said, you can worship Yahweh, you can worship
Here.
Jehovah at these golden calves. Apparently he didn't read Exodus. And so that's what continued. And then, of course, at crucial moments, you've got Baal worship introduced. You've got Ahab and Jezebel.
Yeah.
So it's even worse than that. And then sometimes, so Jehu comes in and does a pretty big cleaning of the Baal worship in the north, but does not tear down the shrines, the golden calves in Dan and Bethel. So they continue in the sins of Jeroboam. God really hates that. And that goes downhill, and they get destroyed earlier, 150 years earlier.
Right.
But in the southern kingdom, basically, you've got mediocre to good and a couple of really bad guys.
Manasseh.
But there, some of the best kings, it says, he did what is right in the eyes of the Lord, except that he did not remove the high places.
Yep. That's right.
That's the thing there, where they're constantly said they didn't remove the high places.
And that was what was commanded during Joshua's reign, Aaron, Moses before that.
Right.
Like,
and so the it seems to me that's another historical moment. So you're like, so if you if you have some say in who the next king is, and you've got an option between Baal worshiper and good king who's not going to remove the high places, I think there's an argument to say I'm going to vote for the good guy who I know is not going to remove the high places, even though I'm going to argue for removing the high places. Right. If God can say that was a good king, even though he didn't remove the high places, I think there's a qualitative difference there. And I think a moral case can be made for that. I can also understand the guy who says, I'm not voting because he won't remove the high places, because I know that won't honor God completely. Right. One more historical moment. Let me just throw out at you. And that is the Roman Empire. The Republic historically ends with Julius Caesar coming in. There's some civil war, and then Caesar Augustus Octavian takes the reins and is considered the first emperor of the empire. The Republic is crumbling at this point. The empire has begun, but it's interesting that for you think, oh boy, this is the end. What if Biden gets some, or his cronies, get a couple of
he becomes the empire.
Military generals help him take over, or Trump does, whatever. And you're like, oh boy, here we go. It's really interesting that the empire has 500 years to go. 500
it just got
years to go. In the middle of that crumbling. And so you're like, oh, like historically speaking, like these things can kind of go on.
Right.
For a lot longer than you might think. And so and so you're like, okay, now you're a Christian in the Roman Empire.
What do you do?
And let's say, I know they didn't really do this, but let's say, they actually took a show of hands. You want that emperor or that emperor? You want Nero or Marcus Aurelius?
Right.
Nero was a madman. Marcus Aurelius oversaw. He was a Stoic. Believed in the philosophy of Stoicism. Which a lot of people considered kind of close to Christianity, but he also approved of the persecution of Christians.
Right.
Like how do you function as a Christian in the Roman Empire? and make a difference.
Right.
You've got a voting booth.
I think your point here is closer to the point that I was going to make just a moment ago, which is, have we done so well here in Moscow because we've had political power?
No, our church, we have no city council.
I'm just saying, okay, like that's my point.
Yeah.
And this is the point that I've said before, and I feel like this year I'm gonna have to beat this point until people think Knox does not want people voting. And it's not my position at all.
Right.
I do want people voting. But we have believed this lie that if we don't vote, then we don't have any other ways of engaging with power, or engaging with authority or operating. And we do. We have a lot. We have, especially in this time, this is not like Rome in so many ways. Because if black people who came from slavery could not vote and be able to have the ability to vote and then be able to have more political power, and yet at the same time affect the economy and live well without having voting rights,
right,
then our current situation and where we're at, we have far more at hand for us to be able to engage and have impact on society, culture, and everything else, and not be engaged with, if you don't vote, this is the most important election of your life, and you miss this one, you're done.
Right.
Without the fear mongering around it. And I think that we've taken for granted our some real power that is in getting. Look, your voting isn't going to fix the government, and it's not going to fix the nation. Sorry. Are you ready? It's not going to fix.
Yeah,
you get your person in there. You get your person in there, and you still have to have a society where women can walk down the street safely. Okay,
yeah.
You still have to have a society where abortion isn't still running rampant.
I just feel like you're saying good pros, but you aren't answering the
if you
bottom line.
You know what?
Wait, what do you mean?
He's just talking good stuff, but he's not answering the bottom line. What I'm trying to get at. Our people still have to walk in on Monday and vote. They don't have to, and they don't have to. But what I'm trying to do
is what Nate said. Go and buy a dog instead.
Sure. That's
you can
walk and chew gum.
Go build,
and most people are going to do that.
But I think part of the point though is like we don't have good options. Let's say DeSantis is the best semi-Christian option.
Yeah.
Let's just say that for the sake of argument. Nothing will change.
Yeah. You got Eli and his sons running stuff.
That's not the argument. The argument is, how can I be a dutiful citizen on January 15th and love my neighbor?
Go have a baby.
That's the question.
Did you say go have a baby?
Go have a baby. I'm serious.
It takes 9 months.
Yeah. So, and you have better. And so, and you got 20, 30
Those
years.
Those are all
before
great. Everyone, we're post-mill. We're post-mill. We're covenantal. That's the play we're running here in Moscow.
This is not a problem that you get out of. This is not a problem that you get out of overnight or by one election.
Who's arguing that? Who is arguing that in this room at this table?
But I guess I don't understand.
You're talking great covenantal post-mill language. I love it.
I'm saying that's the only way.
But what's the answer? But what's wrong with just saying pick one of those guys or write somebody in? Great, do that. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
It's like
I would almost prefer the answer that don't vote for either. They aren't good candidates and move on.
Okay, so that's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
No, you're talking about having babies and being post-mill and being covenantal. That's all great stuff.
Right.
But we got people in Iowa who are, know that they believe that they can sway the election and build momentum for one candidate or another.
Right. But what we're saying,
that's who I'm trying to talk to.
Right. And
I'm saying,
at least what I'm trying to say is, if you're in this situation where it's like you could sway one candidate or the other.
Yeah.
And I don't. I basically see I see arguments for either one.
Yeah.
And I also don't think it matters a ton.
Yeah.
So get behind one.
That's great. Yeah.
Do it. So I'm not saying you can't.
Everybody's happy Dusty Davis is where he's at.
Yeah. But I think it's
That's
like
a good candidate.
I don't think basically if DeSantis is actually a really good guy.
Yeah.
Really good guy.
Yeah.
Then he's going to be in just as much trouble. He's going to be handcuffed and hogtied.
Yeah, worse than Trump would
in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Right.
Or maybe he's a slightly more respectable looking and sounding Trump.
Yeah.
In which case he's going to be hogtied and handcuffed in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it's sort of like so. Like I think you can do that.
Yeah.
And but I don't think we should delude ourselves into thinking that that's going to make the difference. I think do it,
Right.
and make your case for it.
Right.
Nobody's saying don't do it. Nobody's saying don't make a case for it, or even try to build a coalition to do it. Make the best case you can. But I think we are deluding ourselves to think that that's going to solve it.
Right.
What we're talking about is buying time for Christians. Because what we need is a reformation. What we need is a reformation. But because what we are is, it's like, I don't know, maybe some kind of blending of the era of the kings and the Roman Empire. With this weird democratic element that may or may not do anything. Like, when I vote, like, does that actually matter? Is a live question. Like, are the bureaucrats who are running DC, because obviously Joe Biden is not running anything.
Yeah.
Are the puppet masters, have they already decided who's the next president? And so it's like, are we functionally entering an era of empire? So for example, for hundreds of years after Caesar Augustus, there was still a Senate.
Yeah.
Right. So we could go on for a long time with the vestiges
with
of
the shadow Senate or whatever.
With the vestiges of a republic and voting and everything.
Yeah.
This is why.
But there are people behind the scenes who are really running things.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. What's interesting though is, and that goes on, and then one day Constantine becomes a Christian.
Right.
And it didn't.
That's right.
And it didn't really actually undo the
damage,
the damage that had been done.
Yeah.
But like, that tells you something about, like, behind the scenes, there was something growing.
Yeah.
In the empire. Many people have asked historians have puzzled over how could that empire have lasted as long as it did. And I sort of suspect that Christians had far more to do with it.
Yeah, at the ground level. Yeah, absolutely.
Than we realize, behind the scenes and holding things up, and maybe even some way sort of propping up. Even people speculate about certain Roman virtues and pagan virtues that the Romans had, which were sort of sometimes quasi-Christian, and you had Stoicism was another similar thing that people said was kind of similar to Christianity, that valued similar values in some respects. And I think if Christianity is this leaven that's leavening the whole loaf,
right?
But that's 300 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Knox, do you got a response here? Because Toby should read through the ad.
Go ahead.
You should respond here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Tactics Conference, it's coming up in like
weeks,
like a couple weeks. Learn how to build Christ's kingdom from those that are doing it, or at least trying. Join C.R. Wiley, the campus preacher, Keith Darrell, Gabe Wrench, Chocolate Knox, and even me, for 2 days of boots on the ground training on how to take your community for Christ. Great talk, great food, and great people. At least most of us. Come see us in Lafayette, Louisiana. That's only about 2.5 hours east of Houston, Texas, on January 19th and 20th. Take note, seating is limited. Families are welcome. Come experience some Cajun hospitality. And while we labor together to build the new Christendom, beer and psalms, panel discussions, Cajun dancing, oh boy, and more, go to tacticscon.com, tacticscon.com to buy your tickets today and use the coupon code FLFPUB to get $20 off your ticket price. FLFPUB, get $20 off your ticket price. That's tacticscon.com. We'll see you in South Louisiana in just a couple weeks.
That's going to be fun. One of the things is, I was thinking about this. There is no one looking for the kind of candidate that we want to vote for. Just think about that for a second. Not in the definitely not the Democrat Party. Ain't nobody there.
Yeah.
The Republican Party? No.
What's their qualifications?
Conservatism? What is that?
Yeah.
Nobody is trying to find the kind of candidate that evangelical Christians really want to vote for.
It's a conservative dad's calendar.
That's the one. Ugh. But why is that? Because every time that we go to an election season, we grab the tightest pin that we can find and we put it between our noses and we go in there.
Oh.
Just close it, clamp it. It's okay. Okay, just do it. Right?
Yeah.
And we pick. And they know we'll do that. They know that we have clothespins all in our laundry rooms and they're set up just for elections.
Right.
We got to stop that at some point. because we're helping them develop the kind of candidates
Right.
that we don't want.
Right. Part of it's like creating like a political
And
Overton
they
window.
know that we'll do it.
Right.
How come it hasn't moved the other way around where they know we ain't going there?
Yeah. Well, that's
And they come to us and be like, you know what? They're not going to go for it, guys.
It kind of brings us back to the Matt Gaetz thing, because I mean, like, you know, I have really I mean, I'm not saying anything about him personally, but like the tactics that he needed to use to oust a sitting House Speaker,
Pretty brilliant.
and get another one meant he had to be willing to be thought the crazy extremist.
Yes.
And then back to the point about you know, Speaker Johnson having an opportunity to shut down the government. Like, that's like, I don't think conservatives are thinking like that. Like,
No.
like we have. I mean, if we're going to repent down to the ground, if we're going to change this, it's going to be things like, no, we're not. Yeah, we're not going to vote.
We're not going to do it.
You can't have our votes. We're not going to support
Well,
you.
you're going to be out for 20 years.
Yeah.
Bet.
Right.
And this is something that you said that I think is really important. Okay, so let's say 500 years before the whole thing.
Yeah, 300 years till you get a Christian
Yeah.
or a professing Christian emperor.
Right.
And then another, it goes on though for another almost 200 years beyond that, the emperor,
Yeah.
empire, before fully kind of crumbling. It doesn't end overnight in 476, but
Right.
that's the traditional date, and it's fading out.
The wonderful thing that we
the
forget
West.
is our forefathers put together a unique system, the most unique system in the world, because it's biblically based, that gives us certain authority and rights and places to fight from that don't have to be at the highest tops of power.
Right.
That's not where the power is.
Yeah.
And we forget that. It's like we're just not going to do it.
Right.
Right? And so we forget that, well, we got our local place is the number one place that we can engage with to win at.
Right.
And it's not, and it's not just saying like, oh, well, that sounds like a pie in the sky, or that's just like, well, this covenantal thing. No, that's what they did. Right. That's how they that's how they made America is not built up because we got people at the top. It's built up because we got people who work at the bottom.
Right. And the point of it, of course, is that we want to build at the bottom and asking God to bless it so that he will elevate what we've
That's
done,
right.
what we've built.
It's not to stay down here and
It's not
be
to stay down,
fruitless.
but it's just like build families, build legacies, build churches, build businesses, and then as God blesses that and gives you influence, build a city, build a county, build a state, and along the way, I mean, God is Lord, and He can take somebody from the sheep pasture and put him in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
I mean, God can.
Oh, He can do that.
He
Absolutely.
can do that, but you don't. We're not going to get that from the. From nearly all of what's currently out there,
Right.
We need generations of children being discipled, them discipling their kids, them discipling their kids. I mean, we didn't get Constantine right after the apostles.
Right.
The apostles had to be martyred. We had to have 200 years of persecution. You know, you had to have all of that. But we have to be willing for our blood, sweat, and tears to be poured out in building families, building churches, building cities, building businesses and schools and colleges. I mean, there's like New St. Andrews College. Like, how many other conservative colleges are there that are holding the ground? I mean, holding the line. There's like maybe a couple others that are Protestant.
Yeah.
And a couple of maybe decent Catholic colleges, but it's like, we've got our work cut out for us,
Right.
So that we can have people who are qualified to actually have these jobs.
Well, and to y'all's point, you know, focusing on next 20 years, raising kids, building families.
200.
I'm saying 20.
200.
For this reason.
200.
No, because you can actually accomplish a lot more than you realize by raising just faithful kids.
Right.
Like, we think that going to the voter polls is probably going to be one of the most important things we do this year. That, you know, this is where I can impact change right now.
Right.
And it's actually, you know, probably your best bet is actually raising kids faithfully next 20 years, starting a business, starting a school,
Do your homework.
running that play.
Get involved in local politics.
Elections and all
We're
that
not
stuff.
saying
Yeah.
don't be involved.
Yeah.
We're just saying remember that your kids, you have your most potent weapons
Yeah.
are your kids.
And it really does do a lot in 20 years.
Right.
They aren't having kids, and you are.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much. This is going to be interesting because there's so much more to say about
Yeah.
that. And the way you start is if you're single, you get married. If you're married, you have you a bunch of kids. And if you have kids, you go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
It is the duty of the free man to resist tyranny at every turn. Every man will either watch his freedom stripped away or take action to protect what he loves. Introducing the A3, the newest revolutionary body armor from Armored Republic. The A3 is the new standard for lightweight multi-hit body armor. A3 plates are incredibly light at 4.6 pounds. The patented design captures fragmentation while remaining multi-hit capable. The A3 will stop up to M80 ball, yet comes in at only 0.7 inches thick. The A3 is the thinnest NIJ.06 compliant or certified composite standalone plate that includes the drop test. The A3 is the first of its kind, patent pending, that combines an alloy strike face with polyethylene backing, revolutionizing body armor technology by providing strength and durability while remaining sleek and maneuverable. The A3 is the new standard in lightweight body armor. The fight against tyranny just got stronger.